Welcome to the Sam and Joe VA Show, where we teach women just like you how to create your very own in-demand virtual assistant business.
We're your hosts, Sam and Joe, and get ready to have the control, flexibility, and freedom you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to episode 51, Make Your Directory Listing Shine.
If you are not already on a directory listing, and when we talk about directory listings, basically we mean things like Yellow Pages, the New Zealand Virtual Assistant directory if you're in New Zealand. There's loads of different directories, online directories, and there's lots of benefits for being on these directories, which we're going to go into shortly. So if you're not already on one, it's probably time to think about joining one. And if you are already on one, hopefully we're going to go through some tips and tricks in order to make that listing of yours shine, because at the end of the day, being on one of these directories is great. However, it's no guarantee that you're actually going to get clients out of it. That's down to you making the best first impression that you can.
Yeah, one of the benefits of being on a directory listing is that often the directories rank really high in Google. And so if you can't get onto the first page, that's very competitive, or you're just starting out, this is actually a way for you to get on that first page by being in that directory. So, yeah.
Yeah. Another benefit is obviously it gets more eyes. If you've got a website and you've got your website linked on this directory, not only does it get more eyes onto your own website, that in turn is better for your own website's SEO.
Yeah, because it has that great backlink, doesn't it? Back to your website is perfect.
Yeah, the key there is, though, you want to be picking a directory listing or listings that are legitimate and they do rank really well themselves. So they are already on page one. And the last benefit of being on a directory listing is it legitimizes you, and it gives you credibility, which is not only important for those just starting out, but also those that have been in the game for a while.
All right, let's go into some of the tips and tricks. So there's some really key things that you need to think about when you're crafting your directory listing, and you've really got to think about the audience and what they are going to be looking for and making that really great first impression. So the first one is, if you specialize in a specific tool or something really specific, make sure that if the directory listing gives you this option, that you choose those tags so that when someone is filtering through the directory and they want something specific, and most people who are looking for a virtual assistant are looking for really specific experts in particular things. When they filter it by the specific tags, then you come up as one of those experts.
Yeah, so important. If there's a particular tool that you're a bit of an expert in, or that you work a lot in, make sure that that's a tag if it can be. So when we're talking about a tool, if you specialize in Rocket Spark websites, you want to have Rocket Spark because people are searching for people that design Rocket Spark websites. The same with MailChimp, Kajabi, any specific tool like that you love to work in. People right now are searching for virtual assistants that specialize in those. And also, you want to make sure that you update those service tags on a regular basis. A lot of virtual assistants, when they first start out, they're a generalist virtual assistant. They offer everything under the sun. As their journey progresses, and they get more clients, they've been around the block, a lot of the times their services change. They chop and change. So make sure the services that you offering right now are ones that are featured on your directory listing. And also you want to make sure that those services that you're saying that you have, that you're offering, you actually have skills and experience in. That is really, really important.
And your directory listing is not something that you should set and forget. You can't
Mm-mm.
just set it up once and then think that it's going to be fine forever. You need to be regularly updating this. So you got to make sure that if you have tags on your listing and someone is going to connect with you and ask you about what you do, make sure that there's an alignment there. Like, don't start
Yes.
saying yes to things that aren't your specialties and aren't your skills, aren't on your tags. Or they might have a matchmaking service like Sam does with the New Zealand
Mhm.
virtual assistant directory. She runs that, and there is a matchmaking service. So you've got to make sure that if you're putting yourself forward and saying yes to a matchmaking opportunity, that you actually have tags that match what that client is actually asking for. Because if they look at your directory listing after you've been put forward and you are not showing a tag in that specialty, they're going to be like, are they really actually that good at this? I'm not so sure. So I'm not going to get in touch with them. I'm going to go with someone who knows their lane, is putting themselves forward for things they're really good at, and that's what their tags are.
Yeah, that's real life feedback that we get often. People putting themselves forward for job opportunities. The client then goes and has a look on the directory listing. It's not in alignment to what they're putting themselves forward for, and quite often that potential client doesn't even contact that virtual assistant. So if you've got a website, you also want to make sure there's an alignment between your blurb on the directory and the services that you're offering on the directory to what you're mentioning on your website or even your LinkedIn profile and social media accounts. You want that messaging to be really consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about photos next. A lot of directory listings allow for logos. However, if you've got the opportunity, and I know this is really important, something that I do with the New Zealand VA directory is I only allow profile pics of the virtual assistants. I don't allow logos. So if you're on another directory listing that does allow logos, I would absolutely recommend that you make sure that instead of putting your logo, you actually put a profile of yourself, especially if you are a freelancer. It's really, really important. It's about building finding clients is about building relationships. And a quick way to do that is to show your face. So the person that is checking you out immediately can look you in your eyes, even though it's not in person, and get a feel for you and who they're going to be contacting. So in terms of the photo, Jo, have you got some tips if you're kind of taking a selfie for your directory listing?
If you don't have a professional photographer or someone that can take a professional photo, or that's not in your budget, then the next best option is to take a photo on a really good camera, a really good phone, which is pretty much a camera now. That's all we use it for. Is a really quality phone that you can take a photo with. The best option is to have someone else take the photo of you, so that you're not like holding your arm out like a selfie. And the best thing that you can do is look at a natural light source. So face towards a window that has some nice natural light, not full sun, but nice natural light coming through, and get the photo looking great with lighting. That is what it's all about. It's all about the lighting, which made me realize actually. So if you look at my face now, and then I actually forgot to put my light on. So wait for it. I think it's about to come on. So now that my light is on, see how my complexion and my face actually looks so much better on camera now that I have a light on my face. So make sure that if you don't have like some sort of diffused light like Sam and I do, that you're looking out a window that has some natural light, and that is the best way to get a really great pic.
Yeah, it certainly is. Some good tips there. If you are on more than one directory, so if you're in New Zealand and you're on the NZVA directory, you're on Neighbourly, you're on Yellow Pages, you're on a few others. In terms of your overall SEO, if you have a website and you're concerned about SEO, you want to make sure that you're not using the exact same wording on every single directory listing that you have. You kind of want to switch things up a bit. You still kind of want to have the same messaging, but just not the exact same text. So think about your audience. So if you are on a directory listing, if you have a directory listing that's specific for virtual assistants, you don't then need to be selling the whole VA industry to the person that's looking at your directory listing. They're already sold. They're on a website specifically looking for virtual assistants. So you don't need to be selling the VA industry. You just need to be putting your best foot forward in terms of selling yourself and your services. However, if you're on a different directory that isn't VA specific, then potentially you would want to be talking about the benefits of hiring a virtual assistant.
Yeah, that's a really great point. You got to really think about your audience. We also have an internal directory here for virtual assistant agencies hiring subcontractors, and it reads really weird when you see someone's profile on the internal directory where it talks about the benefit of hiring a virtual assistant. It's like, actually, that's not the right thing. You need to think about who's the audience. If it's a VA agency, if it's someone who doesn't know anything about a virtual assistant, is it someone who is already sold on the service, on the concept of hiring a virtual assistant? Who are you specifically talking to? And that will determine what you actually need to say in that directory listing bio. And try and make it about them, not so much about you, which seems super weird for a directory listing that's all about you. But yeah, try and really talk to them and what they might be looking for, rather than like, I'm this and I'm that and I'm that. Another tip is to also try and start sentences with the word with 20 years experience as I blah, blah, blah. So you're trying to make it not like I'm this and I'm that. Yeah.
Yeah. The occasional I is okay in this situation because it is about you, right? But you do not want every single one of your paragraphs to start with I.
Yeah.
That no one wants to read that. Okay. Show your personality and be yourself. Joe and I talk a lot about showing people, potential clients, agency owners, whoever it is that you're wanting to work with, showing them the real you, not pretending to be somebody else. And then a couple of weeks down the track after you've got the job, all of a sudden they're like, whoa, where's this personality come from? We had no idea that you were such a firecracker. And actually, you're probably not a good fit after all. So be yourself from word go. We had an amazing summit speaker this year, Natalie T, and she talks about the importance of being fearlessly authentic. And when you are at that point, you either attract or repel. Now, repelling a client or potential client is not a bad thing. It just means that they're not your ideal client. You actually don't want to be wasting anyone's time, yourself or theirs. So if they know immediately, because you are being your authentic self and everything you put out there, it just saves everybody a lot of time down the track.
Sure does. So don't try and pretend to be something that you're not. So if you're a freelancer, then absolutely you referring to yourself as the virtual assistant. And if you're an agency owner, refer to what you're offering as, the team or we or the agency or our company or something like that. So make it clear and don't try and trick people into thinking that, you've got a whole team and it's just you. Like be honest about where you're at, so that people know what they're going to get and their expectations are set right from the start.
Yeah, I think a lot of freelancers think that they would actually get hired more if they have got a team, and it's actually not the case. It's probably the opposite way around. A lot of clients in their heads, for whatever reason, actually think they'd prefer a freelancer. Generally, that's because they think they're going to be cheaper, which isn't always the case. So just be you. Just own it. Whatever your business model is, just be honest about it and upfront, so there are no surprises down the track. It's really important to have a clear call to action. So we talk a lot about call to actions on social media posts and email marketing and all that jazz, but it's equally important to have one on a directory listing as well. So do you offer free consultations? If so, how long are they for? How do you want somebody to contact you? Do you want them to email you? Do you want them to phone you? Make it really clear. You've got a bigger chance of a potential client following those instructions if you're actually telling them what to do. People like to be told what to do.
And just say one thing, like what is the one thing that you want them to do, so there's no confusion.
Yeah. I think that covers it all.
Yeah, I think that is. So there's actually quite a lot to think about in terms of your directory listing, and this is your chance to make that really great impression. So make sure that you really put time and effort into this. Really think about exactly how you're going to put yourself forward in the best light. And don't make it just a 5-minute job. Really take your time, because this is you online representing yourself, showing your credibility. Make sure you put that time and effort into it. Thanks to everyone for listening to this episode of the Sam and Joe VA Show. If you'd like to find out more, head to the Savvy School website to check out the amazing members club and find more free resources.
You can find us at savvyschool.co.nz.